Hi, this is C. Josephine Wilkins, and I am honored to be your guide. The theme that we are exploring more deeply this week is one of my favorites, as it has to do with the essence of how we can more completely embrace our feminine nature. This topic came up in a reading that I was doing this week, and the woman asked that I go further into this in a blog, in a video blog. So here I am doing a blog on this subject. How can we, men and women, more fully and completely embrace the power of women's periods? Do you feel a little resistance? Well, if you feel a little resistance around this topic, you are definitely not alone. Because as men and women, we are brought up, and maybe children are being brought up differently now. Yay! I don't know um, what's happening on the ground level of rearing children or in the educational system. But my hope is that there's been some evolution and some progression. But if there isn't, there is definitely a lot within our culture that is in resistance to female menstruation. There's a lot of acceptance around birth and the excitement of bringing new life in, and a lot of celebration in the other end of the spectrum. But in both men and women, there's a huge amount of non acceptance within the experience of women bleeding. So, the problem with resistance and having resistance to natural cycles in life is that when we're in resistance with anything, not only does it persist, but it persists with disease. So, most likely, that resistance is contributing, it's sort of affecting the non pleasant experience of a woman having their period. So, oftentimes, and again, I hope that this is changing, but when we go through the educational system and we're presented with these themes of menstruation, there can be a division between the sexes. And I don't know about what you experienced, but there was a lot of ridicule, a lot of embarrassment, also a lot of shame around the whole topic. And I know that as we get older, it's something that women don't really talk about that much. If they do, there's a lot of, oh, here it is, Aunt Flo is here, and there's just a lot of discomfort, and there's a lot of um, just such good feelings associated with it. This time is an incredibly powerful time, and it is that powerful when we do very, very simple, not necessarily easy, but very, very simple steps and follow some tips that will keep us literally in the flow with the natural cycle of life. So, women, what is important for us to do to be in more acceptance of this process that we experience? Number one, it is essential that you begin to, like a little activist, and I say activist because um, the little Irish in me cannot always be supported within the culture that we're in. However, change begins with us. So you can become an activist in just setting time aside for yourself the week before and the week during. Now, what does this mean? Your whole life stops? No. It means that when you have free time, you're taking baths, you're resting, you're sleeping more, you're meditating more, you are going inward. You're allowing this time to stop, to slow down, and respect this process that is happening. Then what can happen when you have all of that fortitude built up and eating a little more, because you do need to eat a little more, and let me clarify, that's nutritious whole grain foods that are really good for you, avoiding caffeine, sugar, salt. Yes, the body is going to be gravitated towards those. However, it's just the body reaching out saying we need more food. You're evolved, is that a word? Evolved. Your more conscious, awake awareness will guide you down the roads of choosing things that are more filling and that don't have the hangovers of caffeine, sugar, and fat. Anyway, when you begin to really step in the feminine nature of who you are and begin to take care of yourself and stand up for yourself, that you need this time to slow down because you're bleeding. I'm going to say that again. You're bleeding. We know this, and we're like, oh yeah, I can run a business and run a family, and I'm bleeding. Let me just stick something up, just keep going. Yeah, well, that's going to have side effects. Dependency on birth control, moodiness, crankiness, PMS, all that stuff is going to come up big time, right? When we aren't in the natural flow and in a more healthy relationship with this powerful process that's happening of cleansing and detoxification through the body. This is very powerful. Men don't go through this. They don't have the ability to completely clean out their system once a month. It can be very, very, very helpful for us in the healing process and keeping ourselves really, really healthy and vibrant. Men, what does this mean for you? This means that you are supportive of your women, the women around you, that you begin to have more compassion. I get it. This might not be your first instinct, but that instinct, I promise you, is just from the way that we were brought up. We weren't encouraged to have you be really receptive, and that's okay. I get it. But if you can begin to embrace this and create a supportive, loving atmosphere for your women around you, I promise you, it will be easier for you as well. The easier it is for the women, the easier it is for you. And that's what we're looking for, is easy, free-flowing flow, right? Things that can be really powerful. Not only during this time are you setting aside time to rest, to be more still, to go inward, but what you're also doing is you're relying on your community. You're relying on your friends, your women friends, and your male friends to be supportive of you and loving of you. What is it that you need right now? How can I be supportive? How can I be more gentle with you? How can I be more tolerant and loving and kind? And then once we create that support system around ourselves, then the process of menstruation can actually be a very powerful time in which your connection to your intuition can be incredibly heightened. Not only do you get to enjoy the experience of food tasting incredible, right? There's a reason why food is tasting incredible. Your body is programmed. You need a little bit more because you're bleeding. You're letting a lot go. So you need more energy to sustain yourself. But on top of that, your connection to your intuition is really heightened. And on top of that, your connection to truth is very, very powerful. Perhaps you go through your life during the rest of your cycle, and the estrogen levels are high when you're ovulating, and estrogen is kind of the pink happy hormone, where you're just moving through, and it's easy to connect to the feminine, and you're just moving through, and you're feeling really sexy and lean and all those things, um, and then before a period, the estrogen drops, and so it's important to create that support system for yourself that allows you to navigate these hormonal shifts, and as much as you can be loving and attentive and supportive of the way that things are going to change. In my experience, the time before the period, what I've seen with other women, is that the truth comes to the forefront. So when we're going around and during the other parts of our month and things are looking great, and hopefully, right, and you're going through and things are easier, and there's conversation is more easy, relationships easy, you're feeling strong in your body and you're just feeling good. And then the time before your period, it's like, sometimes it feels like everything is crappy, right? And I think what's at the core of this is something very powerful. That when we begin to cleanse and when we begin to detoxify our system, our physical self, which of course reflects on our energetic and our spiritual being as well, is that things that aren't working in your life will become apparent to you. Now, is it most effective for you to react and respond to this truth with heightened senses of emotion, with experiencing greater sense of emotional pain, physical pain? Maybe not, but I encourage you to be open and an acceptance of the way that truth reveals itself during this time. It can be a huge blessing to you. As we begin to embrace this cycle within ourselves and within the other women in our lives, within our daughters, we can be in relationship to it, and it can become a much easier experience. So I encourage you to look forward to this time, to open up to the possibility that you can be grateful for these periods of time in which you do slow down, in which you do hide away a bit and go inward and turn more to your spirit and find inner guidance and the connection to the larger divine that we're all a part of. I hope that this is helpful. I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Namaste.